This is exactly what homeowners like Tom are concerned about, and he's showing it perfectly. People can actually fit in there, fall in there. It's dangerous. It's a hazard. The nearly 1,100 hogs are 6 feet under me. These bollards are not supposed to be any more than 5 feet apart. These are at least 7 feet. Ted planted this maple tree 1 year before undergoing his heart transplant surgery. He never thought he'd live to see it grow this big. The oldest gay club in Iowa, located right here in the East Village in Des Moines, is attacked in the wake of Orlando. Hear why the owner says he will not be intimidated. Dan, it sounds like something out of a movie, and if it were a movie, the plot just thickened. And if there's any hope for common ground, at least between those two lawmakers on different sides of the aisle, it's on the issue of medical marijuana or cannabis. At last check, no arrests had been made. Police are trying to piece together what led to the stabbing, what the motive was. Folks here had over 19 feet of flooding back in 2008. After that, the city put this inflatable dam in, and folks here say it has made a difference. The stand a Calhoun County farmer is taking to protest the Bakken pipeline being built on her land. The ways in which the Greater Des Moines Partnership is recruiting college students to live and work here in central Iowa. As the floodwaters recede here in Cedar Falls, the process of cleanup begins. Mid-American, who I just spoke with over the phone, says that 20 customers between Douglas and Madison are without gas. The goal is to have that fixed by midnight. The intersection at Douglas and Beaver has been reopened. The southeast lane here on Beaver is partially blocked off as crews continue to work. And also another important update, the Walgreens is now back open. It had been evacuated earlier this afternoon, and so folks weren't able to get medication, but the Walgreens is now back open. The leak was stopped at 8 o'clock, but not before causing a scare and some traffic headaches. Tonight I caught up with one man from Urbandale who was arriving home here to Des Moines from Las Vegas. He was there last night at that concert and it witnessed this mass shooting event. And when I asked him to talk about what he heard and saw, you could tell it was clear he was still visibly shaken by what he experienced. Dr. Carson's campaign manager wanted me to clear the record. Apparently, according to the campaign manager, one national outlet had been falsely reporting that Dr. Carson was going to suspend his campaign. The campaign manager assuring me that is not true. That is not the case. Dr. Ben Carson is not suspending his campaign. He will be flying to West Palm Beach, Florida tonight to hopefully get some time off before he goes to New Hampshire. That's where he lives in Florida. So we're hearing rumblings that Dr. Carson is actually possibly going to sit out New Hampshire. Can you address that?
Yes, I can. This started with a CNN report with just an abject lie. And so Dr. Carson's heading back to Florida to get a change of clothes. He's not been home since January 15th. Then he's going to Washington, D.C. for the National Prayer Breakfast, where he made his mark a few years ago. Then we're on to New Hampshire. So I think hopefully we can put, with good information, we can put that to rest.
Absolutely. Thanks for clearing the air on that. Off to the Granite State for Dr. Carson. It will be after Iowa. Dan and Aaron, you heard it straight from the campaign manager. That advertisement got a lot of attention. I did a report last week on, as a matter of fact. This sign, Jim Maurer, will put Main Street before Wall Street, kind of highlights that main theme that he was pushing in that attack ad against Mike Scherzan. He's also doubling down on his comments on NATO. He's received a lot of criticism by suggesting that perhaps the United States would not back its allies in NATO unless they pay up, they pay their fair share. But he says he's being misquoted and taken out of context, that he loves NATO, he just wants them to pay up. You can't say anything. They like the fact that Trump speaks from the heart, says exactly what's on his mind. Trump is still speaking, by the way, at that rally. He's doing a Q&A, taking questions from voters. I can hear him. He said he is for defunding Planned Parenthood. He also started talking about Ben Carson and the quote-unquote pathological temper that he has, even talking about getting support from Tom Brady. So he's touching a whole range of topics, and we'll have a complete report coming up tonight at 10 o'clock. The board voted unanimously to release the IRS audit and its response to that audit. They made that vote today. They're not going to release that today. They say sometime within the next 30 to 45 days, they want to prepare the response before they release it for public consumption. They are saying why. It's basically the IRS is claiming they're making too much money. They're a commercial enterprise. They're a casino, that they shouldn't be a social welfare organization. But in terms of when they're going to release that audit and its response to the audit, they want to do that, but right now they say their legal team is working on the response. And Senator Schneider says this is not just a statement bill. He actually wants to get this thing done, and he knows that means working with the House and the governor's office, but he says he's confident that an agreement can be reached. By the way, if you want a full list of those medical conditions included in this bill, you can visit our website, whotv.com. This was never going to be an easy case to prove. The prosecution was calling this an inside job with a 21st century twist because of the technology involved, having to do with malicious software, random number generators, or rootkit. However, when you start bringing that number from the current exemption of $5.45 million down to $3.5 million, it's a whole different ball game, and then they'd have to change all of their plans. And because of the proposed cuts, DMAC's president says the community college will no longer be able to afford sponsoring events like the NAACP banquet, the Martin Luther King banquet, and the Latino Heritage Festival, among others. Pastor Nick Reed says he wanted to follow in the tradition of Jesus, and Jesus would be with people. He said here at the church they just wanted to be with people and sit with people during this difficult time of mourning and tragedy. I am here on Tonawanda Street, just right across from the Church of Christ here in Rockwell City. You can see here the Sac City fire department truck is here with the flag at half staff, and then I'm going to step out of the way so you can see the long line of American flags that are surrounding the school where that funeral service is set to begin any moment now. Here is a look at the program for the service. It says, "Forever in our hearts, Justin S. Martin. And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send and who will go for us? Then I said, here I am, send me." It's a verse from the Old Testament book of Isaiah, from the Bible. And of course, that's referencing, the call to service that officers like Justin Martin do. They answer that call, and they are willing to lay their lives on the line to protect all of us, to protect the public.